Captain Jack Russell stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Pathfinder. His heart beat fast as the strange alien vessel moved closer. It was the year 2157, and humans had never met aliens before. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Communications Officer Mary Peters. Her hands shook slightly as she worked at her station. Jack took a deep breath. "This is what we trained for." "Open the channel." The screen lit up, showing a tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 eyes. It looked at the human crew with what seemed like boredom. "You have entered Ardanian space, primitive species. Identify yourselves or be removed." The alien's voice sounded flat, almost lazy. Jack stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack Russell of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We did not know this was claimed space." The alien made a sound like a snort. "Of course you didn't. Your kind barely knows how to leave your own solar system." The alien turned to speak to someone off-screen. "Can you believe they still use fusion drives? Like children playing with toys." Jack felt his face grow hot, but he kept his cool. The Pathfinder had been Earth's pride just months ago when it launched for Alpha Centauri. 3 days later, Jack sat in a large meeting room on the Ardanian mothership. Ambassador Susan Miller had arrived from Earth to handle the diplomatic talks. 7 different alien races sat across from them, all part of what they called the Ardanian Alliance. "As you can see," said High Commander Zextal, the lead alien, "your species is quite behind the others we have encountered. We typically wouldn't even bother with formal contact for another century or 2. Susan smiled politely. "We may surprise you. Humans are quick learners." The aliens all made various sounds that the translators identified as laughter. "Your bodies are so fragile," said a green, tentacled creature. "One small change in temperature or pressure, and you die. How did such weak beings ever achieve space travel? And your lifespans," added another alien with metallic skin. "Barely a century at most. We have pets that live longer." Jack watched as Susan tried to maintain her dignity, while the aliens continued to mock everything from human biology to Earth culture. They referred to humans as clever monkeys and suggested Earth would make a nice zoo or nature park. Back on Earth, Admiral Paul Carter reviewed the reports from the first contact meeting. His face looked grim as he read how the Ardanians had treated the human representatives. "What are your orders, sir?" asked his aide, Lieutenant Greg Foster. "Should we prepare our fleet?" Admiral Carter shook his head. "We have 26 ships, Lieutenant. The Ardanians showed us scans of their fleet. They have thousands." He sighed deeply. "For now, we smile and take their insults. We have no choice." The next month, the Ardanians granted humans limited trading rights, allowing 1 ship per month to visit their nearest outpost. They called it a generous offer, but everyone knew it was just another way to show who was in charge. "They think we're nothing," Jack said to Susan as they watched the Ardanian ships leave Earth orbit. "They see us as backward children." Susan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then we'll have to prove them wrong. Humanity has faced long odds before." "Do you think we can ever stand up to them?" Jack asked. Susan looked up at the stars. "They made one big mistake, Captain." "What's that?" "They underestimated how quickly humans can learn when we need to." She smiled. "And how dangerous we can be when we're backed into a corner." As the Ardanian ships disappeared into the darkness of space, neither of them knew that their real test was just beginning. 5 years passed since first contact with the Ardanian Alliance. Things had only gotten worse for humanity. Lieutenant William Grant stood at the observation deck of Moon Base Alpha, watching as another Ardanian ship entered Earth's orbit without permission. It was the 3rd one this week. "They don't even pretend to respect our space anymore," said Sergeant Nancy Lopes, who stood beside him. William nodded. "And every time we complain, they act like we're being silly children." The Ardanians had started with small rules. Earth ships could not travel beyond Mars without special permits. Then came more rules. Human technology had to be approved by Ardanian inspectors. Earth resources were labeled as protected, but somehow Ardanian mining ships were allowed to take them. In her lab at the United Earth Science Center, Dr. Laura Webb looked through her microscope at soil samples from Minnesota. The results made her angry. "Sam, look at this," she called to her assistant. "The rare earth elements are almost completely gone." Sam Wilson frowned. "But that area hasn't been mined by our teams." "Exactly." Laura pulled up a satellite image on her screen. "But look at the Ardanian research vessel that was parked there for a month. They're taking our resources and lying about it." Laura had been collecting evidence of Ardanian theft for years. Her husband, Dr. Ben Webb, was doing similar work at the Europa Research Station near Jupiter. Later that week, Laura was presenting her findings to the United Earth Council when alarms started blaring. Admiral Carter rushed in, his face pale. "We've lost contact with Europa Station," he announced. The room fell silent. Europa Station had 42 scientists and engineers stationed there, including Laura's husband. 3 hours later, an Ardanian representative named Krillvex appeared on the main screen. His 4 eyes blinked slowly, showing no emotion. "The primitive research outpost on Europa was destroyed due to its violation of our technology containment protocols," the alien said flatly. "The loss of your personnel is regrettable but necessary to maintain safety standards." Laura stood up, her hands shaking. "What gives you the right?" "That was our moon, our station." Krillvex looked at her with what seemed like amusement. "Your species' understanding of galactic law is limited. The Jupiter system falls under our supervision due to your proven inability to manage it properly. As compensation, the Ardanians offered what they called advanced technology, equipment that Earth scientists had already developed years before." Later that night, in a secure room deep beneath Denver, General Alan Foster met with military leaders from around the world. "This can't continue," he said, looking at each person around the table. "They killed 42 of our people today and acted like they were doing us a favor." Admiral Carter nodded. "But we can't fight them. Not yet." "That's why I called you here," General Foster said. He pressed a button, and the wall slid open to reveal a hidden room filled with screens and equipment. "Welcome to Project Phoenix." On the main screen was a blueprint for a ship unlike anything Earth had officially built. Captain Gracely stepped forward. "The Ardanians think they know everything we're capable of," she said, "but they only see what we let them see." General Foster smiled for the first time in months. "They think we're primitive monkeys playing with toys. They've never bothered to check what we're building in our hidden workshops." "How long have you been working on this?" asked Admiral Carter. 3 years, General Foster replied. "Ever since they restricted our space travel. What they don't know is that every insult, every restriction, every act of disrespect has only made us work harder." As they looked at the plans for Earth's secret fleet, none of them knew that the worst Ardanian action was yet to come. But when it happened, humanity would be ready. Deep beneath the red soil of Mars, Chief Engineer Diane Clark wiped sweat from her forehead. The underground facility stretched for miles, hidden from Ardanian scanners by special materials in the walls. "How's the engine test coming along?" she asked, walking up to a massive ship engine that glowed with blue light. Dr. Nathan Brooks looked up from his tablet with a smile. "Better than we hoped. It's 30% faster than the best Ardanian engines we've seen." Diane nodded, trying not to show how excited she was. For 8 years, humans had been working in secret, building technology that would one day free them from Ardanian control. The Ardanians had no idea what was happening. They saw humans as simple creatures who couldn't possibly advance quickly. Each time they inspected human facilities, they were shown outdated technology that made them feel superior. "The inspection team is coming tomorrow," Diane reminded Nathan. "Make sure everything is hidden, and the old engines are in place." "Don't worry," Nathan said. "They'll see exactly what they expect to see. Primitive humans playing with toys." Meanwhile, on the far side of the moon, Colonel Frank Wilson watched as 100 soldiers trained in zero gravity. They moved with skill, using special suits that would one day allow them to fight in space. Faster, he called through the radio. The Ardanians move quickly in space. You need to be quicker. Earth's leaders had realized something important after first contact. The aliens would never respect humans unless they were forced to. But fighting back required more than just courage. It required better technology and training. In another secret facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, weapons specialist Olivia Rodriguez tested a new shield system. She fired a powerful laser at a small device, and the beam bounced off a blue energy field. "It works," she shouted to her team. "This shield can stop their weapons." The most important breakthrough came from communications expert Kevin Phillips. In his lab in Australia, he showed General Foster how human ships could hide from Ardanian sensors. "They won't see us coming," Kevin explained. "Their scanners will show nothing, even if we're right in front of them." For 10 years, humanity built its secret fleet. They used asteroid mining operations as cover, building shipyards inside large asteroids where Ardanian patrols never looked closely. The first complete warship was named Defiance. Captain Eric Johnson stood proudly on its bridge as it moved silently through the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Neptune. "All systems working perfectly, Captain," reported First Officer Julie Barnes. "Ardanian monitoring station is 5 miles away, and they have no idea we're here." Eric smiled. "Begin weapons test." The Defiance fired a small, precise laser that cut through a nearby chunk of ice. The energy signature was masked, leaving no trace that would alert the Ardanians. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter met with world leaders in the Underground Command Center in Denver. "The fleet now has 50 ships," he reported, "all with technology better than what the Ardanians have shown us. We've built them slowly and carefully to avoid detection." President Christopher Hayes looked concerned. "And you're sure they don't suspect anything?" Admiral Carter shook his head. "Their arrogance blinds them. They're so convinced of their superiority that they don't look closely at what we're doing." General Foster added, "We now have ships stationed throughout the solar system, cloaked and waiting. We've built construction facilities on distant moons and asteroids. When the time comes, we'll be ready." "And when will that time come?" asked the president. Admiral Carter's face grew serious. "We won't strike first. We're not aggressors. But the next time they cross the line, the next time they threaten our people." He paused. "Let's just say they're going to learn that mocking humanity was their biggest mistake." None of them knew how soon that moment would arrive. It was a quiet Saturday morning in the small coastal town of Bayview. People walked along the beach, children played in the park, and fishermen prepared their boats for the day's work. No one noticed the large Ardanian ship that entered Earth's atmosphere until it was too late. The luxury liner, carrying wealthy Ardanian tourists, crashed directly into the center of town. Buildings crumbled, fires spread, and hundreds of humans lost their lives in seconds. Captain Lisa Harris arrived with her emergency response team within an hour. She had seen many disasters, but nothing like this. "Get the injured to the medical tents," she ordered, her voice steady despite the horror around her. "And be careful near the ship. We don't know if it's stable." By evening, rescue teams had pulled 326 bodies from the wreckage. 12 Ardanians had also died in the crash. 2 days later, an Ardanian official named Mekvat appeared at the United Earth Council meeting. His 4 eyes showed no sign of sadness or regret. "The incident in your small settlement was unfortunate but inconsequential," he said. "We require immediate access to the crash site to recover our property." "Inconsequential?" Admiral Carter stood up, his face red with anger. "Over 300 people died." Mekvat waved a long blue hand dismissively. "Your species reproduces quickly enough to replace such losses. Our main concern is recovering our superior technology before your scientists attempt to study it." The council members sat in shocked silence. Not even an apology for the deaths. No offer to help the families or rebuild the town. Meanwhile, at the crash site, Captain Lisa Harris found something disturbing. She was examining the ship's control room when she discovered the flight recorder. "This doesn't make sense," she said to her second-in-command. According to this data, the ship was working perfectly. There was no malfunction. She dug deeper into the records and found a conversation between the ship's captain and passengers just before the crash. Her blood ran cold as she listened. "The primitives will scatter like insects when we descend," an Ardanian voice said, followed by laughter. "It's always amusing to watch lesser species panic." Lisa realized with horror that the crash hadn't been an accident. It had been a form of entertainment for the aliens on board, a game to watch humans run in fear. She immediately reported her findings to Admiral Carter, who took the evidence to President Hayes. At the same time, in a hospital 30 miles from the crash site, Nurse Betty Johnson treated injured Ardanians who had survived. She didn't speak their language, but the translator device on the wall caught their conversation. "The Earth colony plan moves forward next month," one Ardanian said to another. "The human population of this region will be reduced by 60% to make space for our research facilities." "What about the humans who remain?" asked the other alien. "Labor force, perhaps, or research subjects. Their planet is being repurposed either way." Betty's hands shook as she pretended not to hear. When her shift ended, she copied the translation recording and took it straight to a military contact she knew. Within hours, the recording reached Admiral Carter, who was already reviewing Captain Harris's evidence from the crash site. The Admiral entered the President's office without knocking, something he had never done before. "Mr. President," he said, placing a tablet on the desk, "we have proof of their intentions. The crash was deliberate, and now they're planning to take our planet and eliminate most of our population." President Hayes listened to both recordings, his face growing pale. After a long silence, he looked up. "How ready is our fleet, Admiral?" "Fully operational, sir. 200 ships stationed throughout the solar system, cloaked and waiting for orders." The President took a deep breath and pressed a button on his desk. "Initiate Operation Rising Dawn." The time for hiding was over. The massive Ardanian flagship Dominant moved slowly toward Earth. On its bridge, High Commander Zex Tall watched the blue planet grow larger on the view screen. "Our first official colony will be established here," he told his officers. "The humans will provide labor, of course. They're good for simple tasks." "Commander," called out a sensor officer, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings near the Mars orbit." Zex Tall waved dismissively. "Probably solar flares or their primitive technology malfunctioning. Nothing to concern us." The Dominant continued its approach to Earth. Zex Tall had visited this planet many times over the last 15 years, always enjoying how the humans scrambled to please him while he looked down on them. Today would be different. Today he would inform them of their new role as servants of the Ardanian Alliance. "Sir, more energy readings, closer now," the sensor officer reported, sounding confused. "Ignore them," Zex Tall ordered. "Human technology is barely worth our attention." Just as the Dominant entered Earth orbit, something unexpected happened. All around them, ships appeared out of nowhere. Not small human ships, but large, advanced warships. 200 of them, surrounding the Ardanian vessel. "What is this?" Zex Tall shouted, jumping from his seat. "Where did these ships come from?" The main screen lit up, showing Admiral Carter on the bridge of his flagship, the Retribution. "High Commander Zex Tall," the human said calmly, "this is Admiral Paul Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are ordered to withdraw all Ardanian forces from the Sol system immediately." Zex Tall laughed, though his secondary eyes showed concern. "With what authority do you make such demands, human? Your primitive vessels are no match for even one of our ships." In response, Carter nodded to someone off-screen. A demonstration, then. The Ardanian commander turned to his weapons officer. "Fire warning shots. Show these monkeys what real power looks like." The Dominant fired energy beams at the nearest human ship. To everyone's shock, the beams hit a blue shield and disappeared, causing no damage. Admiral Carter smiled slightly. Our turn. One small human ship fired a precise beam that hit the Dominant's engine section. Within seconds, the Ardanian ship's engines shut down completely. "Impossible," shouted Zextal. "Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields." Another face appeared on the screen. It was Lieutenant Kelly Martinez, a young officer on one of the human ships. "For years, you mocked us," she said, her voice clear and strong. "You called us primitive. You underestimated human ingenuity and determination. You will leave our space now, or you will witness what humans can truly accomplish when pushed too far." Zextal's face darkened with rage. "This is some trick. All Ardanian vessels attack the human ships." The battle lasted less than an hour. The human ships moved with incredible speed, their advanced shields blocking all Ardanian weapons. Human beams disabled Ardanian systems with surgical precision, leaving the alien ships floating helplessly in space. On Earth, people gathered around screens, watching in amazement as the human fleet, a fleet they never knew existed, defeated the aliens who had looked down on them for so long. Half the Ardanian ships were disabled. The rest, seeing they had no chance, turned and fled toward the edge of the solar system. In the White House Situation Room, President Hayes watched the battle with his advisors. 15 years, he said quietly. 15 years of being treated like children, of hiding our true capabilities, of building in secret. Was it worth the wait, Mr. President? Asked General Foster. President Hayes nodded as he watched the Ardanian ships retreat. "Send a message to Admiral Carter. Tell him Phase 2 begins now." "Phase 2, sir." "Yes," the President said with determination in his eyes. "It's time the Ardanians learned what happens when you push humanity too far. We're taking the fight to them." Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the holographic map of the solar system. The remaining Ardanian ships were fleeing toward the jump point near Saturn. "We can't let them regroup," he said to his officers. "If they return with their main fleet, even our advanced technology might not be enough." He made his decision quickly. "Divide our fleet into 3 battle groups. Commander Peter Wright will lead Alpha Group to secure the jump points near Saturn. Captain Grace Thompson will command Beta Group and establish a defensive perimeter around Earth. I will personally lead Gamma Group to pursue the retreating Ardanian forces." The Earth fleet moved with precision that would have seemed impossible to anyone who had seen human ships just months earlier. Within hours, Commander Wright's team had secured the jump points, preventing any Ardanian reinforcements from arriving easily. Meanwhile, Admiral Carter's ships followed the fleeing Ardanians toward their nearest outpost in the Proxima Centauri system. The Ardanians had a head start, but they didn't know about the human fleet's new faster-than-light drives. "They expect us to arrive in 3 days," said Navigator John Ellis. "At our top speed, we'll be there in 6 hours." Admiral Carter nodded. "Perfect. The element of surprise is still our greatest advantage." In the Proxima Centauri system, the Ardanian leadership was in panic. The news of their defeat had reached them, but they couldn't believe it. "How could the humans have developed such technology without us knowing?" demanded Governor Nix Farr of the Proxima outpost. "They must have had help from another species," suggested one officer. "Humans are too primitive to create such advances on their own." Their discussion was interrupted when alarms blared throughout the outpost. "Sir, human ships have entered the system, at least 50 warships." Governor Nix Farr's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. They can't have followed so quickly." But the screens showed the truth. The human fleet had arrived, led by Admiral Carter's flagship. The Battle of Proxima became the first major engagement between human and Ardanian forces outside the solar system. The Ardanians had more ships, but the humans had better technology and tactics. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper commanded a small squad of fighters that used special quantum torpedoes to disable the Ardanian defensive grid without harming any civilians on the outpost. "Target their weapon systems only," he ordered his pilots. "We're not here to kill. We're here to win." The human fleet moved like a dance, each ship knowing exactly where to be. The Ardanians, used to winning through sheer numbers, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Within 5 hours, the battle was over. The Ardanian forces surrendered, their ships disabled but with minimal loss of life. Admiral Carter opened a channel to the Ardanian High Council, located many light years away in their home system. "This is Admiral Paul Carter of Earth," he said calmly. "We have secured the Proxima Centauri system after your forces attacked our planet and killed our citizens. We demand recognition of human sovereignty and reparations for years of exploitation." The Ardanian High Counselor, who appeared on screen, looked both angry and confused. "This is impossible," the alien leader said. "You were primitive barely a decade ago. You could barely reach your own moon when we met you." "We learned fast," Admiral Carter replied simply, "especially when motivated by your constant mockery and threats." The High Counselor's face hardened. "This minor victory means nothing. The main Ardanian fleet will crush your pitiful forces. We have thousands of warships, human. You have what? A few hundred." Admiral Carter smiled slightly. "Then I suggest you gather them all. We're coming to your home system next." After the transmission ended, his second-in-command looked worried. "Sir, they really do have thousands of ships. Can we actually take on their main fleet?" Admiral Carter turned to look at the stars outside the view screen. "They still don't understand humans, Commander. They think this is about having the most ships or the strongest weapons." He paused. "But this was never about strength. It was about being underestimated. And they're still doing it." The combined human fleet arrived at the Ardanian home system 2 weeks later. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the view screen. What he saw was intimidating. Over 1,000 Ardanian warships formed a protective wall around their home planet. "They gathered their entire armada," said Commander Jane Wilson. "Just as you predicted, sir." Admiral Carter nodded. "And now we show them what humanity is truly capable of." He opened a communication channel to the Ardanian fleet. The face of Supreme Commander Vex Full appeared on screen. His 4 eyes narrowed in anger. "You have made a grave mistake coming here, human," the Ardanian leader said. "Your small fleet will be destroyed in minutes. This is your last chance for peaceful resolution." Admiral Carter replied calmly. "Recognize Earth's independence and sovereignty. Pay for the damages you've caused. Promise to treat all developing species with respect." The Ardanian laughed. "You are in no position to make demands. We will crush your ships and then return to Earth to show your people what happens when primitives forget their place." Admiral Carter sighed. "Then you leave us no choice." He turned to his communications officer. "Signal all ships. Begin Operation Checkmate." Instead of charging forward to engage the Ardanian fleet head-on, the human ships executed a complex series of maneuvers. They moved in perfect coordination, like dancers following a carefully planned routine. "What are they doing?" Supreme Commander Vex Full demanded as he watched the strange movements. Suddenly, from each human ship, hundreds of small drones launched into space. They moved faster than any ship, darting between the Ardanian vessels. "Shoot them down," Vex Full ordered. But the drones were too small and too fast. They attached themselves to the Ardanian ship's weapon systems and released a special pulse that temporarily disabled the weapons without causing permanent damage. In less than 15 minutes, the entire Ardanian defense force was neutralized without a single life lost. Their ships floated in space, unable to fire weapons but still able to move and communicate. Supreme Commander Vex Full stared in disbelief at his useless control panel. "How is this possible?" Admiral Carter's face appeared on his screen. "We could have destroyed your fleet, but that's not who we are. Humans value life, even the lives of those who mocked us and threatened us." Captain Linda Howard led a small diplomatic team to the Ardanian High Council chambers. She walked confidently into the room where the 7 alien leaders sat waiting. "The terms are simple," she said, placing a tablet on the table. Earth will be recognized as an equal member of the galactic community. The Ardanian Alliance will pay for damages caused during their occupation of our system. And most importantly, your policy of exploiting developing species will end immediately. And if we refuse? Asked one of the council members. Linda smiled. Then we'll leave your ships disabled and defenseless while we wait for you to reconsider. We're very patient. The Ardanian leaders looked at each other. For the first time in their long history, they had been completely outmaneuvered. How did you develop such technology without us knowing? One finally asked. You gave us the greatest gift possible. Linda replied. You underestimated us. You thought we were primitive, so you didn't watch us closely. You mocked our abilities, so we worked harder to prove you wrong. Every insult made us more determined. 5 years later, humans and Ardanians worked together on joint scientific missions. The relationship had changed completely. Where once there was mockery, now there was respect. Dr. Henry Wilson, working on a joint research station, was surprised when an Ardanian scientist approached him. We made a terrible mistake with your species, the alien admitted. We thought our greatest error was underestimating your technology. But that wasn't it. What was your biggest mistake then? Henry asked. The Ardanian looked thoughtful. We failed to understand the unique human capacity to thrive under pressure and unite against a common threat. When we mocked you, we actually made you stronger. As a new Ardanian diplomatic vessel approached Earth, it followed all proper protocols and requested permission before entering human space. The commander of the Earth Defense Station smiled as he granted permission. It was a small gesture, but it represented something profound, the respect that humanity had finally earned.